I'm dumbfounded that this government won't release the report about Russian influence, because every person who votes in this country deserves to see that report before your election happens.
Why do you think?
I'm dumbfounded that this government won't release the report about Russian influence, because every person who votes in this country deserves to see that report before your election happens.
Why do you think they're not releasing it?
I don't know the answer to that. I would think a reporter like you and others should be absolutely relentless in trying to get to the bottom of it. Because, look, we know from even this current Trump administration's intelligence officials that the Russians are still in our electoral system. There's no doubt of the role that Russia played in our 2016 election and is continuing to play. There's a lot of evidence that Russia played in the Brexit election. Now, I'm not, in your country. I don't have a say about any of that. But the fact that the current government won't release this report by your own government should raise some questions.
Hillary Clinton, shameful not to publish Russia report. It is inexplicable and shameful that the UK government has not yet published a report on alleged Russian interference in British politics. Hillary Clinton has told the BBC. The report has formal security clearance, but it will not be released until after the 12th of December election. Every person who votes in this country deserves to see that report before your election happens, the former US presidential candidate said. The report by Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee examines Russian activity in UK democracy. It includes allegations of espionage, subversion and interference in elections. It contains evidence from UK intelligence services such as GCHQ, MI5 and MI6 concerning covert Russian attempts to influence the outcome of the 2016 EU referendum and 2017 general election. The report was finalized in March and referred to number 10 on the 17th of October. But approval for its publication has yet to be given, and is not due to happen until after polling day. MPs on the Intelligence Committee have been highly critical of that outcome, but the government has said the timing is not unusual. Speaking to BBC Radio 4's Today programme while in the UK on a book tour, Mrs. Clinton said she was dumbfounded that the government would not release the report. That should be an absolute condition, she said, because there is no doubt we know it in our country, we have seen it in Europe. We have seen it here, that Russia in particular is determined to try to shape the politics of Western democracies. Not to our benefit, but to theirs. She also told BBC Radio 5 Live's Emma Barnett, "I find it inexplicable that your government will not release a government report about Russian influence." Inexplicable and shameful, Mrs. Clinton said the US had a similar problem in the 2016 election, when she was defeated as the Democrats' candidate for president by Republican Donald Trump. Trump and his campaign, she said, were under investigation for their connections with Russia, Russian agents, and others promoting Russian interests. But the American public did not know before the election. The Russians were still in her country's electoral system, she said, still pumping out propaganda. So there's no doubt of the role that Russia played in our 2016 election and is continuing to play. I would hate to see that happen here. Whatever the outcome, I don't know what's in it, the report, any more than anybody else does. But certainly, people who are about to vote in a month or so deserve to know what is in a report that one has to speculate. Must have something of concern. Otherwise, why wouldn't it be publicly disclosed? Chancellor Sajid Javid has told the BBC the timescale for the publication of the report was perfectly normal, because of the sensitive nature of the content. However, Labour's shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry has said the decision not to clear the report for publication before Parliament closed ahead of the general election was clearly politically motivated. Speaking in the Commons last week, she suggested the report could lead to questions about links between Russia, Brexit and the Tory leadership, which could derail the Conservative election campaign. Sources have told the BBC there was no objection from any other government agency or department to the report's publication, leaving the decision to release it with Downing Street. In the US, the Mueller inquiry laid out a broad pattern of interference in the U.S. 2016 presidential election, particularly using social media and leaking of documents. However, it did not establish any criminal conspiracy between Moscow and the Trump campaign. So far, no evidence of a cyber campaign on a similar scale has been produced in the UK, and government ministers have said there is no evidence of successful Russian interference in UK elections.